When you speak, I hear silence. Every word a defiance.
So Jack and I have just finished drawing. Well, I say drawing. Jack drew it, and I watched him. But we've finished drawing our dog tag for the Battlefield 4 dog tag competition. Now, if you don't know about this, basically DICE are taking submissions for dog tag ideas for Battlefield 4. So they're going to choose one, they're going to properly artify it up, like make it in that scratchy stuff that all the rest of the dog tags is in. Or maybe, if it's amazing, they'll make it gold, like the premium ones. And then that dog tag will be in Battlefield 4 for other people to have. Now, we thought we'd be part of this. So without further ado, here is the dog tag. Now, I'm sure you're blown away already by this. We were, when we conceived this idea. I say we. It was mainly Jack. He's the artist of the two of us. I feel we stand a good chance in this competition. We designed it with teamwork, and Battlefield 4 is all about teamwork. But I feel I ought to properly pitch this to DICE, what you'd actually get this dog tag for. And because it's a sort of survival kind of sniper one, what I'm thinking is a new game mode in Battlefield 4 where you fight, because it's kind of DayZ related, over a can of beans just in the center of the map, just one can of beans, and it's two teams of like 7 guys each, and the only things you can use are a ballistic sniper and a knife. That's it. That's the game mode. I think it would be popular. Yeah. I've got a feeling there is absolutely no way they're going to choose our idea. So how to improve your KD in Battlefield 4? Now, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that a while ago I put up a couple of videos on how to improve your aim in first-person shooters. And I figured in this video, because a lot of people asked me on that last Battlefield 3 video I put up on Sniper Shotgun, how I managed to get us something like 32 KD or something like that in that game. And basically, that gun is massively overpowered, and that's how you end up with a massive KD like that, just by using an overpowered gun. However, how to improve your aim in Battlefield 4, and that title there, that wasn't just a plug for Battlefield 4 in that, because both Jack and I have played in the Battlefield 4 Alpha, and we agree that aiming is even more important in that game. Unfortunately, it functions exactly the same as in Battlefield 3. Yes, they say they've switched up the engine a bit, but the general gunplay is exactly the same, and that's generally just a visual change. So the way you aim and everything, if you put in the same sensitivity in Battlefield 4 as you've got in Battlefield 3, your aim will be exactly the same. And it's even more important in that game because suppression has been toned down on everything apart from the sniper rifles and the LMGs. So the random bullet deviation, which sometimes saves you, doesn't exist anymore in Battlefield 4. So your aim has really got to be up to scratch in that game. These tips though, unfortunately, the first ones are hardware related. As ever on PC, if you've got better hardware, you're generally going to have a bit of an advantage in games. And that is, I can understand why people play on consoles, because even though my channel has PC in there, because that's mainly what I play, I do play a lot of console multiplayer, especially single player games as well. And really, on there, everybody's on the same boat because they've all got the same hardware. And although some people do use modded controls and stuff, it doesn't make as much of a difference as somebody who's getting like 100 frames per second more in a PC game because they've got way better hardware than somebody else. So my advice would be to try and make the most of what you've got. So if you can put everything on low, and I'm playing on low here, and I've got a pretty decent rig. If you ever wanted to know what my rig is, I'll put it in the description, but it's also on my channel page at the top. But if you can get higher frames per second, even though your eyes perhaps can't see the difference, your mouse feels smoother, and that does improve your aim. The same is for monitors. So I just covered is frames per second in game. You can check that with Fraps if you wanted to see what you've got. There's a free version of Fraps, and you don't need to record it. It'll just display your frame rate in the top corner, so you can see what you're getting. But the other thing that matters is the hertz of your monitor. Now, there's 60 Hz monitors, there's 144 Hz monitors. If you can get a 144 Hz 1080p monitor, you have a big advantage. It is so much smoother. I didn't believe this until Jack told me about it. But basically, it gives you a big advantage having a 144 Hz monitor, not a 60 Hz monitor, because your mouse is going to feel smoother even if you can't see it. And it's all about making your mouse feel as smooth as possible so you get the best muscle memory. So far, we've covered your frame rate in game, which you want as high as possible. You want the highest Hertz monitor you can possibly get as well. In fact, I've got another tip about graphics actually. The new consoles all run on AMD technology. So a lot of the new games are going to now be properly optimized for AMD graphics cards. However, in my experience, if you're at the moment choosing whether or not you should get an AMD or an Nvidia graphics card, in my experience, even though, say, the 7990, their top-of-the-range card is better than Nvidia's 690, which is their top-of-the-range card, Nvidia always feels smoother to me with an Intel CPU. So even though I might be getting, say, 5 frames per second less in a game, the frames I am getting feel smoother, so I tend to stick with Nvidia and Intel. So that's a little side tip for you. Keyboard and mouses though, a lot of people swear by mechanical keyboards. Both Jack and I don't use them because they make a really loud click when you're pressing the keys, and yes, they may give you something of a little bit extra responsiveness, but for the price where you're paying like 120 quid for one, it's just not worth it. We use like 25-30 quid keyboards and there's virtually no advantage, so I wouldn't recommend wasting a load of money on a keyboard. What you're better spending your money on is a decent mouse and mouse mat. Now both of us use exactly the same mouse mat, which is in the link in the description as well. Jack uses an old Microsoft IntelliMouse because he used to use that when he was playing Counter-Strike. It's a good mouse for him because he's used to using it, and it is a good mouse sort of generally overall, but of course the technology in that mouse is like 15 years old, perhaps even older than that, so I couldn't really recommend it for you to get nowadays. In fact, it's really difficult to actually buy those nowadays. So I use a Logitech G400. It's used by a lot of Counter-Strike players, a lot of COD 4 Pro Mod players. It's a really good mouse, and it's only about 35 quid or something like that. So I personally, if you're starting out, I would get that mouse. It's really good. How to know your sensitivity? This is really simple. You choose a sensitivity, you play for 10 minutes, and you see how your aim is. Then if you think you're over aiming or you're under aiming, you adjust your sensitivity a little bit. Play for another 10 minutes without sensitivity, and you keep doing that, and it will take you a couple of days, or maybe 3 days, maybe a week even to get that sensitivity. But if you work at it, you will figure out your precise sensitivity in games. Once you've got that, stand against a wall and measure what a 180-degree turn is using a ruler underneath your mouse, and then in every game measure out, when you're setting up that game, that amount of turn. That's the only way of getting consistent aim and improving your aim if you play several different games. So just do that. It is worth the extra time it takes to do it. Couple of last extra little tips. Get yourself a headset. Both Jack and I use Astro A40s. They are the only headset I would ever recommend. You don't need a sound card. The mic quality is insane. The audio quality directionally is developed for Counter-Strike players. It works perfectly. A little extra tip about client-side hit registration, which is what Battlefield 3 and 4 have. Basically, if you see a guy go around a corner and you're shooting at one another and he backs off around the corner, run around the corner at him, like run and jump around the corner at him, because he will see you come around the corner later than you actually get around the corner because the server's going by what the client actually sees. So you have an advantage doing that. Finally, general map awareness. I run looking at the map the vast majority of the time. In games where there's no footsteps, you should be looking at the map like 70% of the time you're playing, and just like your peripheral vision looking at the main screen. Unless of course you can't see anything on the map and you're pushing into the enemy, then of course you need to look up because they won't be showing up, because they won't be firing at anything. So use your map as much as you possibly can. You get better awareness off your map than you do just looking about generally in the game. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope these tips were useful for you. I hope you liked our dog tag idea, and I'll see you guys in the next chapter.